Dr. Mark Changizi here with your Science Moment. Are you a coward if you're anonymous on social media? Before we get started today, I just want to mention our book again is coming out. Dr. Tim Barber and my book called Expressly Human, Decoding the Language of Emotion, coming out in a couple months. You can pre-order it today, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. This week I've been recording the audio version of the book. And it's important, it was important for me to tell the publishers, like, look, I need to be the one who reads it, or my co-author, we're the ones who wrote it. And it would be violating the very point of the book if we're not there to express the book in the way that the expressions need to be expressed. It would be awful if someone just came in and was reading it with all of the expressive tones and intonations and prosody all wrong. So go out and get a copy of this book, support independent science, support scientists who stood up when it mattered, and support a book that argues in the strongest possible way that face masks are covering the language that social animals use to communicate. So today I'm talking about anonymity. And former governor, I believe, Huckabee had said the following on Twitter. He says, I hope Elon Musk will insist that all Twitter posters use their real name and not be keyboard cowards hiding behind silly sophomoric screen names. Be man or woman enough to stand by what you say. If you can't own it, don't say it. Now, I think that taps into an intuition lots of us have about free expression and about standing up. Put your cred, put yourself behind it. And if you have to be anonymous, maybe that should take away all of the impetus about what you say because you're not standing behind it. But I think this completely misunderstands the nature of social media and social networks. What's important about the backing of a name is that that name is connected to the social network. That name has a history within the social network. That name has acquired a certain amount of reputation over time or has lost reputation and is looked down upon. It's by virtue of having a history of repeated kinds of statements that came out in one way, really good or right or wrong, on the other hand, has a kind of history of being disagreeable versus being agreeable and right and morally right and correct and so forth. It's exactly that kind of network structure and facets to it that makes it a person at all, socially. Now, if you're online and you're anonymous, sure, you're anonymous in the sense that you don't know who you are in the real world, but in that world, you're just as real as you are with yourself in the real world of social networks. A person who has an anonymous name, and they've got 100,000 followers, they've been on there for 10 years, they have a name that's identifiable through time. They have statements that they've made that's identifiable through time. There's a history about them, about the extent to which they've been right and moral and said cool and interesting things and been disagreeable or not agreeable and have developed a reputation over time. That's what makes them an individual. That's what gives them a kind of reputation that you're willing to listen to some extent or not. And that's also what makes them reticent to just say willy-nilly any old thing, because it takes a tremendous period of time, a tremendous amount of time and effort to build exactly that kind of reputation. They don't want to lose that. They're hiding their name potentially for business sorts of reasons because businesses and communities are potentially canceling and they can't afford to have their different kinds of personalities intersect the real world with their online world. But that doesn't mean that they're not a real individual, so to speak, in the online world, one with real credit stake, one with real reputation at stake that they don't want to lose. So one way to see this is, there's a sense in which, in fact, the personality or the person that you are in social media is even more real in the right kinds of senses. So, for example, if I go to some concert, a political rally or someplace, and I just scream out and I say some political thing, I say, blah, blah, blah is wrong, right? Well, no one knows who I am in that audience. I expressed myself. I said some really disagreeable thing. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. And I affected the crowd, and I may have caused sort of reverberations, but none of it got traced back to me. Right? I mean, it's possible that someone later, if I did something really bad, they could maybe figure out in the cameras. But effectively, I was anonymous. And much of our interactions in life are anonymous. Nothing you do, even as an anonymous person on social media, every statement that that person makes is lodged and recorded. You can delete it later, but other people often have screenshots of it and so forth. And you often don't want to, get rid of it because you want those statements there because you're trying to build a reputation. Every statement that you make is attributable back to the person who said it. It is a much stronger social network in the sense of tracking free expression, tracking comments and arguments about it, tracking all of the kinds of debates that occur because they're all cross-linked and all interconnecting much more severely. It doesn't allow anonymity in the sense of you don't even know who posted it within the social network. Whereas in real life, all the time, in real social networks, people say all kinds of stuff and you have no idea who in that real social network even said it. Elon Musk doesn't need to purposely, make everybody there self-identify who they are in real life. That would undermine a lot of the people's ability to speak out of justifiable fear of cancellation, especially those in academics, especially those in jobs where the world is a canceling world these days. And it doesn't, in fact, help because there are all of the key things that matter for social networks are all there online, even though they're anonymous relative to the real world. They're not anonymous in that world. They're real live identities that persist over time, and that's all you need. And that was your science moment.